Hello everyone, welcome to BATV Test of Champions Fan Doosra show powered by Dafa News. We are the Bharat Army and it immense sadness है मेरे अंदर to just announce that New Zealand has been crowned the champions of Test cricket. Yup, India have lost the Test championship. Somewhere we saw this coming a day ago itself. I remember Gurkirat Paji and Ronak being on the show. We spoke about it and I'm not sure. Everyone's like just feeling down right now. I can see it in your faces. I don't know. Where do I start with? Ahan, would you like to start off? Like, what exactly went wrong for us? We seemed kind of fine by the end of first innings, but then things didn't go our way.
I think actually, I don't know. It's tough to say exactly what went wrong. I think over the course of 6 days, we were outplayed by the better team. You can say that there are different things you can point to. I think in hindsight, probably India played the wrong team, picked the wrong team, probably one player short. But I would not. I can see Gurkirat shaking his head. I would not have made any changes on the first day. I think we picked our best five bowlers, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Which is what India did, and I completely back that. But I guess you can say that in hindsight, it didn't. Maybe the execution wasn't right. That's why it looks that way. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I think the main difference. I mean, the way I'm saying it is that if you look at the New Zealand team, there was. I think they spoke about this on commentary. There was always one fast bowler who was ready to go, who was like rested and ready to bowl, and India never had that. And again, like I know today was a difficult situation, but even yesterday in the second session, which I heard Gurkirat talk quite vehemently about yesterday after the show, there was they were tired, and if we hadn't had that option, that extra fast bowling option, that we might have been able to restrict them. But I think that's really picking things. I think today, walking into the day today, we should have been able to save this test match, even given the team selection and everything. I think what really let us down was the thought process and the mindset and the way we played in the first hour and a half today.
Yeah.
People will come out and we'll have this discussion later, I know, but I think the game was lost with our 3-4-5 and Pant, Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane are the most experienced batsmen in the Indian team. In a situation like this, they should have taken us to a place where we could not lose the game. We can think of declarations and everything after that later, but the kind of shots that they got out to, Kohli's shot wafting outside the off stump,
Yeah.
Pujara never really offered a shot. He kind of like half-assed to enter it and kind of nicked his bat, and then Rahane getting strangled on the leg side. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think that was just disappointing. There was no fight in that part. Like it was just they were not. I think they were confused whether they should go for a win, whether they should play out. I don't know what they were supposed to do. So I mean, yeah, I guess we take it on the chin. I guess if there's one team that it's like the one team you wouldn't mind losing to in world cricket is New Zealand because they're kind of the nice guys of world cricket. So if you have to lose a final with someone, I'd rather it's New Zealand than anyone else.
Completely agree with that. I think New Zealand are absolute gentlemen. Sanchit is asking a genuine, heartfelt question. Tips for someone who supports Rajasthan Royals, India, and Arsenal. How do you?
I think
I want to add.
Yeah,
sorry. I think Ronak is the best to answer that question. Because
I didn't want that question to come from
Any,
I
any,
definitely didn't
any,
want it.
anyone who supports RR, India, and Arsenal should stay away from alcohol for starters. Okay, that is one. And
Yeah.
you know, I am surprised that I am not seeing a single comment right now which is saying that India had the right intent which we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
The entire conversation yesterday and before the game today was a classic example of counting your eggs before they hatch.
Yeah.
It was
assume that things would fall in the right way or वैसा ही होगा. That's kind of I understand.
okay. मतलब, the delusion was insane, and it was clear in the first half hour as to what lies ahead of us. Everyone was. I just want.
Ahan, just a second. Ahan, why are you laughing so much? Ahan.
because I can see the fun that Gurkirat is having in this while he's telling everyone that he was right yesterday. I'm just enjoying him like gloating right now. It's
अच्छा,
good.
इसको देख के मुझे हंसने आ रहा है
क्या हो गया? Yeah, anyway,
I just want to put things in context and want people to think about it. When was the last time you saw any test bowling attack which had two left arm pacers? Forget of the quality of Bolt and Wagner, who are so different and diverse. To put into perspective, these two, if you were to put a spin bowling equivalent of these two bowlers, it would be having two wrist spinners, someone like an Anil Kumble and then someone like a Shane Warne. Not particularly
Johnson and Stark, bro.
Johnson and Stark played one season together, and both of them are not known for their accuracy. Their economy rates are more than 3. The economy rates of Wagner and Bolt are not more than 3. They are in the range of 2.5 to 2.7. And they are completely different bowlers. We saw what Wagner did today, and we've known what Bolt is known to do. So I don't know where this thing was coming on, that we have to bat with intent, set a target, etc., etc., etc. I
Yeah.
thought, what people say this very loosely. Even the commentators and cliches are thrown around like, oh, Test cricket is like life, etc., etc. Well,
Yeah.
if Test cricket is like life, then in life you sometimes have to keep your ego aside and play to the practicality and the pragmatic of the situation. There was clear. Last time when we lost to New Zealand in an ICC tournament, Virat Kohli said that 45 minutes of bad cricket led this to happen. I'd say the 45 minutes of pre-discussion before the game led this to happen. The first three wickets which Ahan mentioned of Kohli, Pujara, and Rahane.
Yeah.
Kohli, if you saw how he came out to bat, he was looking to score off every ball, every ball.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Similar to Cheteshwar Pujara. When was the last time we saw Cheteshwar Pujara fiddling to a a delivery on fifth or
Did you
sixth?
say Pujara tried to hit every ball?
I'm saying he was fiddling outside the
Yeah.
off stump, which he doesn't
He was
do,
attempting. Yeah.
because he was also looking to score. And
Yeah.
then there is going to be some discussion and debate about Rishabh Pant, whether how his days are the ones which have led to everything. And I thought that yes, he batted more deliveries than your 3-4-5, and he scored more runs than 3-4-5. But I'm not sure if his approach was the one which he himself decided, or
Yeah.
what, it was something that the management told him, because he's a better defensive player than what he was doing today, coming down the track and slogging. Slogging is not his game. Ian Bishop also mentioned it on air, and if Ian Bishop says that you have a good defensive base, you have a good defensive base.
Yeah.
There is no debating that.
In fact, yeah.
This, I'd go on air and say this, that in the last 2.5 years, in terms of game sense, this was probably India's poorest day, not in Test cricket but even across formats.
Yeah, I kind of understand ki matlab, initially Virat and let's say Pujara as well kind of went to score runs. That is kind of justified. But then once you see the wickets tumbling, ideally they should have just settled down, defended, and tried to bat as long as possible. Instead of what they did was just go for the win. Maybe they watched a lot of Bharat show जो हम लोग कल बात कर रहे थे, and they were like नहीं जीतना है मतलब जीतना है.
I think Dia must have called them in the moment.
Yeah, anyway, I see two more people who haven't spoken a thing yet. Ronak, I'll start off with you.
Yeah.
Tough defeat to swallow.
Yeah, I think this was more of a test of patience, both from the bat and ball, which I think India didn't show, and New Zealand showed in plenty. I think even when small partnerships were developing in the Indian when India were batting, I think New Zealand stuck to their plans. You see Kohli's dismissal as well. I think he bowled Jamieson bowled 4 in swingers, and then the fifth one went away. Similar to even Jadeja, there were 4 short bouncers, and then the fifth one going away from him.
Yeah.
Rahane again, I think it was a similar dismissal of Trent bowling to him in the IPL final in 2020. I think similar caught behind on the leg side. So I think New Zealand players had their plans. They were patient enough. When at times it seemed as if there's a small partnership building in, something is going to happen. Even when they lost 2 wickets when they were batting, I think they stuck to their plans. They were very patient. And I think India lost it in the first hour. I think the first objective itself was to save the game and then think about any possible result. When you have lost it in the first hour itself, when out of the 3 possible results, one is definitely out, and the only thing possible now is your loss. I think that is where India messed up a bit in the first half. But I think we need to give credit to New Zealand as well. And it was actually very good to see Ross Taylor and Kane Williamson be there at the end, because these are the 2 most senior-most player in the team. Stalwarts for New Zealand. Taylor especially is highly underrated. I mean, we don't consider him as one of the modern legends, but he was exceptional today in terms of just being there, being patient, not doing anything silly, and it was a fitting thing for New Zealand that these 2 finish it up for them.
Yeah, in fact, it was a good sight. End mein, matlab Taylor and Williamson taking it for the winning runs as well. In fact, Taylor also cried. I don't know if you guys watched the post-match interview with him. He actually was in tears. And over the years, we know how much he has done for the New Zealand team. I mean, we always remember Australian legends and all, because वो लोग हमेशा जीतते थे. But then someone like Taylor, it means a lot to him. And somewhere I feel bad for someone like AB de Villiers as well. Because he's one guy who has done so much for the team and unfortunately hasn't got such big titles. Anyway, next up to you, Amanda. Where did Team India miss the trick?
I think overall, it was a bit disappointing. stuff like drop catches, no balls, silly shots being played. I think overall New Zealand was better in all three aspects of the game, in fielding, bowling, and batting. They were really patient throughout. I think, when you look at India, I think it's just a pattern now. I think now ICC trophies just seem to be slipping away from India. They reach the semis, they reach the final. Pressure builds. I think India really need to start coping up with, I mean, they need to start handling pressure, like high pressure situations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think New Zealand really deserved to win this overall because, in order to win an ICC trophy, you can't have blunders like no balls and dropped catches and silly shots. And I think in the second innings, out of all 10 batsmen, I think 8 of them were caught. I think 8 of them were out. I think 2 LBs and 8 of them were caught. So I think India really sort of messed up there. And obviously, the beginning of the day's play sort of,
Disappointed us the most.
disappointed us. Yeah, because you start, it's a new day, and the commentators and stuff as well. They were pretty confident in the way Kohli and Pujara were coming out to bat. They said, Kohli's coming in with intent, and yeah. So I think coming in with people like Kohli, and Kohli didn't do a bad job in the first innings. He scored around 44, and so I think the first 2 wickets in the span of half an hour, 45 minutes sort of let us down. And honestly, towards the end, I feel like I think I had this conversation with Ahan before. I spoke about how India really had to defend to draw the game instead of focusing on winning. I don't think he still agrees with me, but I feel like yeah, I thought India should have defended more than attacking. I mean, obviously Rishabh Pant is there to attack. He's been doing that for the last couple of matches. He was there to score those quick runs, but I feel like defending and just staying on longer onto the field could have perhaps helped us a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, Amanda, just one thing you mentioned regarding, the ICC trophies just seem to be slipping out of Team India's hands. Because we always close our jate, and then somehow we managed to just give it away to the opposite team as if, we didn't even try to win it. Like a बहुत top order collapse हो जाता है कभी, it's just a complete weird thing to watch. मतलब पूरा full form में team India खेलती रहती है, and suddenly in one match we just lose it like no. पूरा fluke था क्या? So I just want to ask you, Ahan. I mean, there's a question by Sanchit as well. When do you realistically see Team India lifting the next ICC trophy? Yeah, here's the question, Ahan. I'll just read it till then you take a time to think. When do you realistically see India win an ICC event next? Are we competent to challenge for the T20 World Cup in the next 2 years as well?
I think 2023, the home World Cup we have, the Test T20. I mean, the over 50 over World Cup is I think one we should definitely win. And I think the WTC final also is in Ahmedabad that year. And our run up to that, I think if you look at our series layout, which is up to that date, it's actually the only tough away series we have is England. The rest are what you would call lower sides. And then we have Australia and New Zealand at home, where you would back us to win. So I think both of those are trophies we should be targeting. Talking about the T20 World Cups in the next 2 years, I'd say out of the 3 formats, T20 is probably our weakest format. But but then also the thing is, even at our weakest, I'd probably say we're the 3rd best T20 team in the world. Yeah. So it's T20 is going to come down to it's one on moments. I can't really say anything. If we go into a semi-final and some Rishabh Pant or Surya Kumar Yadav has a wild day, we'll win that tournament. We could end up winning that tournament. So I can't really predict those, but yeah, I think this choking thing, I'm not sure if it's. I mean, I guess you can call it choking at the end of the day, but it's just for some reason in pressure situations, this team just seems to crumble and not show up. And can I just address the Rishabh Pant thing if it's okay?
Yeah, sure.
Because everyone has been going on about this. I've got messages about how Pant should have defended, Pant should have done this, Pant's shot to get out was ridiculous. Yeah. Honestly, when Pant came into bat, we lost Pujara, we lost Kohli, right? And then we lost Rahane soon after. Right. So now, when you're in that situation as Pant, you've got Jadeja, Ashwin, and the bowlers, who the bowlers are not going to do much. Jadeja, yeah. But I think in that kind of a situation, Pant had two options. One is he could have defended, but the issue is the ball was moving. There was eventually going to be a ball that had your name on it, and you have gotten out. If you now defend for 1 hour and you defend not moving the score forward much, and then you get out. Yes, you've defended 1 hour of the game, but you still not. Today the game was more overs than hours. So I think Pant did according to me, his approach. Okay, maybe it was slightly too extra in terms of going after everything.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't have to do that, but I think his approach of trying to score runs and move the game forward runs wise was very important because once he had lost, I can understand if he was batting with Pujara. Yeah, okay, then you can try and play out some overs because you know Pujara at the other end will do it. But once you lost Pujara and you lost Kohli and you lost Rahane soon after, I don't think you can trust people like Jadeja and Ashwin to bat out long and long hours, especially against, as Gurkeerat himself pointed out, that kind of bowling attack. That bowling attack is one of the best in the world. Is the most variety, had one of the most varieties in terms of what the options are. So I think Pant had to try and move the game forward in terms of runs, so that even if we get out, we push the game into a stage where the runs maybe have reached past New Zealand. It didn't happen today. He got out playing a shot which, at the end of the day, looks really ugly. But I think the intent behind it was not wrong. It was correct. The way he was trying to approach the innings, according to me, was correct. So I wouldn't. As Ronak himself said, I would not blame Pant before blaming Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane.
And just one thing on this, everyone's saying that the kind of shot that Pant played was ugly. The shots that Kohli played, Rahane played were equally ugly. But just because they weren't like aerial shots or shots which are not too common, people don't classify them as bad shots or poor shots.
And these shots, it got you a draw at Sydney and won you a test at the Gabba. So don't forget that.
So wait, मतलब as long as result क्या आते हैं उस हिसाब से लोगों के opinions change होते रहेंगे. But I just feel मतलब Ahan, you mentioned it, spoke very nicely in terms of the shots जो रहा he went a little too overboard when it comes to playing risky. Somewhere I felt कि he was going for the shots, that's right, but then हर एक ball पे मारने की जरूरत नहीं थी. Maybe he could have tried to play a little bit safer. That might have changed. But again, if finals पे बात तो नहीं कर सकते. Gurkeerat, I remember, yeah, exactly. Raised your hand. Go on.
So I think sometimes too much is being made of these failures in ICC tournaments, because what people don't realize, there are also an element of luck. Everyone remembers that West Indies won the 2016 World T20, but I don't think a lot of people realize that Darren Sammy had won all the tosses in that tournament.
Yeah.
He could have very easily, if India had won the toss and chosen to field first in Wankhede, maybe India would have also chased that as well. India didn't know what was the right score. So that also, comes in perspective somewhere. We lost the toss in this game as well. That doesn't justify that we were poor anyway. But somewhere, our luck has also not been great. And we also have to realize what is choking and what isn't choking. 2014 T20 World Cup final wasn't choking. That was great display of death bowling by Kulasekara and Malinga. They could have probably contained any batting lineup except for maybe an AB de Villiers, any batting lineup. So that wasn't choking. 2016 again semi-final wasn't choking. 2017 when you lose by 180 runs, that is not choking. The opposition has played better. People remember that no ball and everything, that Bumrah bowled that no ball, but what people don't realize that we didn't create enough opportunities in that game to restrict Pakistan. Our spinners went for 140 runs in 20 overs. Then if you look back at the 2019 World Cup semi-final, what people don't realize and talk about again is the partnership between Williamson and Taylor, which took New Zealand to a decent score. Again, so we have to understand what is choking and what is not choking, and how luck factor also plays a part in these tournaments. So we've been devoid of that luck as well. And that is something which people need to understand. Again, I think choking after intent are the two most overused terms in discourse without people understanding what they mean. No one understands what choking is, and what everyone says AB de Villiers choke. If you ask them where was the choke in between, no one can explain it. Getting out to a Yorker isn't choking. It's just getting out to good bowling.
Right. Absolutely agree with that. I just completely lost the tab of the conversation anyway. So let's do one thing. Let's have a look at the Bharat Army video जो उन्होंने भेजा है from Southampton and enjoy watching it.
Gentlemen, I don't know, how do we sum up the way everyone's feeling right now? End of day 6,
and we have unfortunately just lost the first ever WTC final to a great New Zealand side.
Yeah, I think when we woke up this morning, we always knew there was a good chance that New Zealand could win this. Draw was obviously the likely result, but it's disappointing. But the fact that we lost trying to win, I can live with that. We backed attackingly. Pant and Jadeja, took the fight to them. Sadly, we didn't bat long enough, or did we get enough runs? And credit to New Zealand, they've outplayed us.
Amish, what did you see out there on the field?
Yeah, I'd probably echo what Akshay said. Feel quite disappointed, but once again, we did try to win. Sometimes in Test match cricket, you could have 5-10 minutes to change a game. We didn't have that where it went in our favour. And New Zealand, credit to them because they have batted very well. Very sensible, mature innings. And yeah, disappointed at World Test Championship. We've come so far, had the journey that we've had over the last 2 years, and we couldn't finish it off with a win, man.
Did we ever look like we were in command?
I don't think so. Soon as we lost the toss on the first day, we were in trouble. I think these two are pretty kind. I think we did not go for the win. I think Pant and Jadeja, that's the only way they play. I think the top order were pathetic. You cannot lose a test match in under 5 days. 3 days, right? We could not back. Kohli, pathetic. Rahane, pathetic. Pujara, you know what? You keep that. You don't send them home now. You're struggling to win England.
So what are you saying? Drop Kohli?
I'm not saying drop Kohli, but all I'm saying to you, with this batting lineup, you are struggling to beat the weakest English team, right? In a long time. It's ridiculous, dude. We could not survive 65, 70 overs. All we had to do, survive another 10 overs. This game was a draw, right? This game was a draw.
But hold on, Jin. The reason why we didn't survive those extra 5-10 overs is because Jadu and Pant, they did listen from the first over.
Forget Jadu and Pant. Yeah.
Okay.
They were.
Kohli and Pujara, the first over they had intent. They did try to have intent, and a cost of intent is losing wickets.
I don't think Kohli or Pujara did.
I think they did have some intent, and guys,
anyone that's defending the Indian batting lineup right now, it's undefendable.
I'm not defending.
Yeah.
Okay, so following this final now, what does Kohli take away from it? What is he going to say to the guys now in the dressing room? You can hear the Kiwi fans are still celebrating. What is Kohli saying to his guys?
Listen, it's a one-off test match. We've just had an amazing series against Australia. We beat England as well. It's a one-off test match that didn't go our way. There are chinks in our armour. We got some points we need to plug in the batting order, like Jin said, and we've got to give new people opportunities as well. We've stuck with the same team for a while. Majority of the same team deserve to be there, but there's one or two that we've got to think, you know what, you've got to start fighting for your place now.
You're on mute, Kunal.
Kunal, you're mute.
I'm so sorry. तभी सोचो जोक पे मैं अकेला क्यों हंस रहा हूँ? No, I just mentioned कि there's something about Bharat Army and Bharat Army discussions turning into fan fights. मतलब हमारा show हो या फिर वो वहाँ पर हो. But anyway, Anne, you raised your hand. You want to say something regarding?
Yeah, no, I think what Jin said was completely right. I read somewhere a stat that the three, Kohli, Rahane and Pujara, all average under 25 since Jan 1st, 2020. I think if you're 3, 4, 5, we have been lucky that people like Pant and Washington and Shardula have been pulling us out of trouble in the last year and a half. But honestly, if you're 3, 4, 5 are averaging under 25 over a space of 18 months, yes, okay, there was no cricket for a while in between. But you need to really look at yourselves. And I think India has to ask itself some tough questions about its middle order. I'm not sure whether you can... how long you can keep going like this. Yes, I keep hearing this, Pujara bats balls. Pujara plays long innings when he bats balls. Pujara averages 20, under 28 or 29 or 28 in 2.5 years. Since after that Australia series in 2018, he's averaging under 29. You're regardless of how many balls your number 3 is batting, he cannot be averaging 29 runs in the long term. I don't get this defense of batting balls. Yeah, okay, in a one-off test match, it might be okay to bat balls. Like, okay, fine. I would still agree in this test match, first innings, if he had batted balls, it would still have, more than he eventually did, it would still have had an impact. But in the long term, it is not a defense that, he bats balls, so he should be in the team. And your 3 best batsmen. Kohli is okay. Kohli's is a lull. I'll give him that. He's average. He's been in a he's averaged. He's been a top player before that. I think he still has one last kick left in him. Uh, he's only like 34, 35. But I think the other two really need to take a look at themselves. And this England series, they will start because they're Rahane and Pujara. But I think after that, if they continue at a 25, 26, 27 run average, I think that it needs to be some tough decisions taken. And we have the talent; they're all sitting on the bench. You've got to give them the chance.
In fact, I see a lot of comments regarding Kohli's captaincy being questioned. Before I throw this question to all of you guys, I just want to mention one thing. We have to remember that Kohli has actually managed to get Team India to. I understand he hasn't really lifted those trophies, but getting us to semi-final, final, and this final again is really commendable. And the way he has made us reach here, that has been really well and something we are taking for granted. I mean, back in 90s or 80s, reaching the knockout stage was itself a celebration time for Indian fans. वहाँ से अभी हम लोग पहुंचे जहाँ पर हम लोग finals हारने के बाद में telling to change the captain. That's how far Team India has reached. Anyway, regarding his captaincy specifically, I'm not asking about his batting in ICC knockout matches or batting under pressure or his current form as well. Gurkeet, I'll start with you. What's your take on his captaincy in general?
In general, it's been on an upward curve. It's been on an upward curve, I'd say, since the 2019 World Cup. You have to look at the last two IPLs, the last 1.5 IPLs, because there's no chopping and changing that happens in the 11 anymore. Both Gill and Rohit have now batted together in 13 innings. And the last time that happened with Indian openers was back in 2014 when Shikhar and Vijay had batted together. And they had batted 8 innings together. So there's that. So we know that there isn't enough chopping and changing. Another example of that was, how Aaron Finch played the entire IPL in a way for RCB, the last IPL.
Yeah.
So the captaincy has improved. Okay, and I don't think there's any debating the culture of fitness and fast bowling that has been inculcated. So captaincy is not just about results, because a captain is only 9% of the team. There are other 10 players who make the team, and they also need to put their parts in. However, today I was disappointed because once you saw that both Kane and Taylor had set in and you were not getting wickets, I thought there was a possibility and there was a chance to where India could have just bowled a few negative lines and spread in the field, because that is something which India could have tried to do to ensure that New Zealand are being forced to bat for the win rather than being allowed to play for the win. So that is one thing that could have been done different, because we saw that there wasn't any boundary rider, there wasn't a sweeper, there wasn't a deep wicket, there was not even a third man to save runs of good bowling if the edges go through the slips. So that is one thing which could have been improved, but largely I'd say that his captaincy has been fine. I think that the same 11 should play the first test match also, because you really can't pick a side thinking that it is going to rain for 2.5 days. You can't. So that is what I feel about his captaincy.
Fair. Ahan, would you like to go next regarding Kohli's captaincy? Okay, Ronak. Yeah.
No, so bearing what Gurpreet said about the second on the last session, where I think the game was more or less in New Zealand's favor. I think Kohli made a couple of good calls in the first inning as well. I think his captaincy in the first inning was very good. I think Henry Nicholls' wicket was a result of good captaincy, because he got Ishant Sharma to switch sides and bowl him towards him so that he could get the edge and he could play at more deliveries rather than Henry Nicholls leaving them. So that was a wicket which came through Kohli's captaincy. Another one was also maybe BJ Watling, wherein they were discussing that Ashwin would bowl the next over, but because Nicholls' wicket was taken in the previous over, Kohli felt that Shami can trouble BJ Watling, who's new to the crease. He was swinging both ways, and that way he got BJ Watling's wicket also. So I think the small decisions on field is something that he's taken very well. Although the results are not showing in his favor in terms of trophies, but we see a lot of attacking intent, a lot of small changes, a reading of the game better, and that has actually helped his captaincy. The only thing is that the results maybe are not in his favor.
Fair. Interesting. Ahan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I guess his captaincy, there's really not much to say. I think he's good. I think it's overhyped, this his hatred of his captaincy. I think it's not bad. He's, as Gurkeet himself pointed out, has been moving up. And in Test cricket, at the end of the day, he's our most successful captain, whatever that may be worth. So I think in Test cricket, at least, definitely there's no doubting his captaincy. and the only other option on Test cricket isn't really batting, setting the world on fire with his bat either. So I don't see any alternatives. I think Kohli should just carry on as captain. But I honestly think, which I think Harsha Bhogre also said it earlier today, that Kohli needs to get back into form. It is scary how dependent we are on him. It's kind of like when he gets out, it's not only the fans obviously, but even the team. It kind of feels like internally the team kind of gets worried. Like, yeah, I know we have Pant down the order, but it kind of feels like the opposition also feels like if they get Kohli, it's the Indian team. You just feel them kind of get like a bit shaky. So he has to get back into form, because the way he's the importance he has in the team, his batting is essential to us. And come what may, he needs to, in that England series, if he is not in form, we might as well. I mean, it's going to be really tough.
Amanda, next up to you. I know you are a big RCB fan, and Virat, you guys have been consistently defending Virat Kohli's captaincy over the years, and we have seen an uptrend and an improvement as well. Do you see him continue his captaincy in Test cricket as well? I genuinely want him to remain a Test captain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think with Kohli's attitude on the field, a lot of people might call him aggressive and stuff, but I think that's what keeps his team going. After every ball, he's always there to motivate. He's always there to give people chances. I think who would have thought? Okay, not related to Test, but even in the IPL, even though he might not have the trophy yet, I think there are certain things in his captaincy, that sort of make him a good captain. The fact that he trusts, people who other people wouldn't trust. I mean, if you look at in the IPL, I'm not sure too many people would have trusted someone like Harshal Patel or someone like Harshal Patel so early into the tournament. And of course in Test, he's the most successful captain. Indian captain rather. So he's most successful Indian captain. Just I think shortly, win percentage. I think Kane and Steve are just a tad bit higher than him. But I think Virat Kohli's attitude and the motivation and everything that he brings out. I think I don't think the burden. I don't think the responsibility of being a captain sort of brings him down in any way. I think he enjoys that responsibility, and there's no, pressure on him. Obviously, like some amount of pressure, but I don't think it affects his game as much. So I think he should.
Okay. Also, lastly, I just want to know from you. I mean, India has had a great journey in this Test of Champions. Go on.
Can I ask you a question? One question. You. No,
Yeah.
so you're a Mumbai fan, right? Since you love talking about everyone's IPL teams. This was Bumrah's second back-to-back wicketless Test match for India.
Okay.
What are your views on this?
I think I should reply. Yeah, look, you want to add something. Go on.
Just want to add something. The last Test, which was wicketless, was the one in Ahmedabad where he didn't bowl in the second innings.
Yeah.
It's good. Let it be. Let him answer the question. Let's be under pressure, man.
इसका जवाब भी नहीं दूंगा, ठीक है?
Let him be under pressure, okay? Just let it be.
That's amazing defense. So, that's my answer. I mean, bro, come on. No, but I feel it was really disappointing from Bumrah as well. Like when we look at Bumrah, it's not for the dots or anything. Especially in Test cricket, we look Bumrah चाहिए तो मतलब Bumrah से wickets expected है, and if that's not what he's delivering, so what's the point of having someone like Bumrah? See, limited overs में dot ball and some timely no balls as well are kind of interesting. But then when it comes to Test cricket, we genuinely want wickets from Bumrah, and unfortunately last 5 days were not his days to pick those wickets. And similarly, I'm kind of disappointed with Bumrah and Pujara as well. Like both of these players, I think these are meant to do their job very, very well. Like someone like Pujara, he loves Test cricket. He has skipped IPL to play county cricket, and it was his moment to shine, and that's when he kind of didn't shine. So that was kind of disappointing to me. And same with Bumrah as well. I mean, I genuinely wanted him to pick at least the tail. Yeah, okay. You want to say something?
It's funny that you mentioned that Pujara skipped the IPL to play the county. मतलब जब auction हुई थी, people were so happy that Pujara's finally got an IPL contract. This is this is a way to respect his test match contributions. And I was like, he's not going to get a game. He's better off playing county. And probably if he had played that county cricket, he may have done well. So
Yeah.
this shows, how much, like, I know I've repeated this word too much, but this just really shows how much of delusional cricketing discourse can be. How can you appreciate someone's test game by giving them a contract in T20? It's like I am a mechanical engineer and I'm good at my job, but people are saying no, you should get a package for computer engineering.
Yeah.
Does it happen in real life?
Yeah.
That is, matlab, I maybe it's my frustration of what has happened today, which is getting the better of me. But I just want to put it on record how delusional is the cricketing discourse overall, where people just pick up one random thing that someone has said and then it gets on repeated till the time no one breaks that myth. कि ये कुछ नहीं है, ये बकवास हो रही है अभी.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just told Gurkirat that the word of this test match is delusional because.
Seriously.
But on similar note, I think what we always see is that the wickets column and Bumrah didn't have any wickets. But to be honest, he didn't bowl that bad as we are making out to be because we didn't see the wickets. Yes, I mean he was not at his best, but he was getting some deliveries to nip back in, beating the bat a bit here and there. But it wasn't a poor performance from him, and we normally see the wickets column and see 0 wickets and maybe judge a player. But I won't be too worried wherein he's not performing this game that much going ahead.
And in fact, अगर पुजारा ड्रॉप नहीं करता कैच तो शायद से उसकी एक विकेट हो जाती. That's my defense as well.
Yeah.
I think this is just a couple of things. One is Ronak, come on, if you're honest, out of all the 8, okay, don't count the Grandhome, but out of the 7 other fast bowlers that bowled, Bumrah was probably the least threatening or effective of those 7.
Of course, he was.
But I think one second, cricket. Let me finish. Apart from that, I think this test match kind of shows, because I was just reading what Kohli said in the post-match presentation, and he was asked about the 4-seamer thing, and he said that you can only do that if you have a fast bowling all-rounder. And I think that just shows that for this test series that's coming up, we don't have Pandya, and Pandya is not going to bowl. So I mean he's not here and he's not bowling. So I think it just shows that Shardul Thakur could actually end up becoming a very important player in this summer for India, because he's the only fast bowler that kind of bats or is a decent batsman for we saw it at the Gabba. But so I think that could end up becoming a key player for India this summer, because if we get more pitches like this, India might have to go and also because at times yesterday we just felt like I backed the team selection, but it was a bit like, bro, why are there two spinners? Why what are they doing? But I think also Jadeja didn't perform to his potential in this test match. That's another. So I think if you just compare the big players in the two teams, right, that's where the game was won. In a big final, you need a big players to perform. Pujara, Bumrah, Jadeja were all subpar. None of them really paid to potential. Whereas you look at the other side, Kane Williamson in both innings. There was Ross Taylor, Conway played a good innings. And then their bowlers, Saudi stood up, Jamieson stood up, Bolt took 4 or 3 or 4 in this innings.
Yeah.
Wagner took crucial wickets, Bolt key spells like the Jadeja one today. Almost all their big players stood up. Whereas for us, a lot of our big players didn't show up. And that's at the end of the day where the final was won.
Just one thing on Bumrah. I think, I'm actually genuinely confused about if Bumrah actually bowled well or bowled poorly, because I think when Bumrah was bowling at his finest, which was on the evening of the 3rd day to Latham, and then on the morning of 5th day to Williamson, I think both the batsmen were also batting well. That it also sort of felt like that there was nothing happening. So I want to just lay it out that how important was Kane Williamson's innings in the context of the game, especially the batting that he did in the first session yesterday. He batted 75 balls out of the 138 balls in that session, which is more than 50% of the deliveries. And he ensured that Indian fast bowlers have had to do a lot more bowling than what they would have liked. And I know people keep saying that we conceded runs to the tail, but what we are not understanding is that after Ishant had bowled 8 overs in that session, Bumrah had bowled 8 overs in that session, and Shami had bowled 7 overs in that session, there weren't enough legs left in our bowlers to ensure that performance is repeated. So I think where New Zealand actually took the lead was when Kane Williamson ensured that he bats time and bats that session out, those 75 balls. So it could very well be a factor that Bumrah wasn't as bad as what it looks like because Kane Williamson was on the other end facing him. Maybe if it was some other batsman, who knows? It could have been 2 wickets in that spell. So that is something which we need to. But there's no denying that he wasn't as threatening as Shami and Ishant. That is also there. But I'm not sure if he was as bad as not getting a single wicket, because it takes my mind back to the Australia tour of 2018. Bumrah bowled much better in Perth, where India lost that test match, and he took only 1 wicket, than when he bowled in Melbourne, where he took that 6 wickets. I think sometimes it just happens that you bowl extremely well, and you don't have anything to show for it, and sometimes you just bowl trash and have a lot of a lot of wickets to show for it, which happens. And I know this is something which will probably make RCB fans unhappy, but Harshal Patel was on the receiving end of this. There were times when he didn't bowl well enough but got wickets because the batsmen were looking to come after him, and he was the more hittable option. It's something which has happened with Hardik Pandya as well, when India have had 4 proper bowlers, where Kuldeep, Chahal and Bhuvneshwar and Bumrah have been too good to be even put away. So it happens in cricket, and we need to realize it, that wicket taking isn't all the time a work of one bowler. It sometimes happens because the other 4 or other bowlers have created too much pressure, that a fall shot is created at your end and you get benefit of it.
Yeah.
And Ahan, 2-3 महीने में IPL आ रहा है तो रुको.
Yeah, I think Ahan has a lot to speak about these.
No, I just think I agree with what he said in terms of like sometimes people bowl badly, sometimes people bowl well. But I think just overall, if you look at the way, like even today in the morning, I remember when he was bowling just after tea today, there was a spell where he bowled like one down the leg side, one outside off, then bowl one really good delivery, then again bowl one outside off and one down the leg side. There was no consistency to it. It was just all over the place. Yeah, he was spraying the ball all over the place. I mean, I'm sure maybe he didn't bowl as badly as 1 wicket and as no wickets. And yes, obviously, Pujara taking that catch, he would have got the wicket. But I think it was just not Bumrah of old, and there was no consistency to his bowling.
Yeah. In fact, see, let's do one thing before we end this. I just want to know one thing, because if I ask you kya improvement hona chahiye Team India mein, you guys would just start listing down those changes. So I would just ask one thing, and you can't repeat what someone else just said. So I'll start off with Amanda. So I'll start off with myself. मेरे हिसाब से we need bowlers who can bat really well. We can rely on their batting. Someone like, I remember Zach, who could actually bat. मतलब मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगता कि oh God कैसे वैसे tick. He can actually score some runs which were really crucial. So someone like Shardul Thakur might actually come in handy in such situations. So that's the change that I want to see in the Indian cricket team when it comes to Test cricket. Amanda,
I think Kunal, who would you play Shardul for though? Would you drop one of your 3 seamers or one of the spinners?
See, that's something that I put it forward this way. Maybe train our bowlers that such that they can bat really well. I'm not saying bat as well as proper full time batsman. Then don't be bat उठाते टाइम ऐसा लगना नहीं चाहिए bro ये इसको आता है कि नहीं. That's the kind of pressure में वो खड़े रहते हैं. So that's the only thing. I'm not saying remove someone like Shami or Bumrah. They are really one of the finest bowlers that India have. But then train them to bat. At least they can stand. They shouldn't be bogged down by the opposition bowling. That's how I put it forward.
Okay, Amanda?
Yeah, I wouldn't really say change or replace someone in the team, because I think India's test team is it's a pretty solid team. I mean, we've got through a lot. I would just say, I think looking at this match in particular, or like other matches we lose, I think just focus on tiny mistakes that could that sort of gives away the game. Because we saw a lot of silly mistakes today, right? And that's what cost us the game. I mean, it's inexcusable for a spinner to bowl no balls.
Yeah.
You can't drop catches, especially in an ICC final. So I think focus and refine yourself a bit more, and sort of keep adapting to like better conditions and stuff.
Yeah.
Ahan?
I think the middle order. I think they have to either these improve or one of them has to go, because I don't think you can keep going endlessly with a 3, 4, 5 averaging under 25. So and we've got the options. I think people like KL Rahul. I don't. Gurpreet's gonna hate me for saying this, but eventually, I don't know. Shreyas Iyer might be an option if you can give him a chance. But definitely, KL Rahul is there. There's Shubman Gill. I think his long-term future is probably going to be in the middle order. And you've got. So I think you've got Vihari as well. You've got the options. I know they're senior players. They've got you far. They've done all that. But how long can you keep going with mediocrity? So at some point, you have to make a decision. So I think this England series is going to be key in terms of that middle order and how they play.
Okay, Ronak.
For me, it would be the batting needs to put a price on the wicket. I think we've seen the batting get a lot of good starts and then find innovative ways to throw it away after getting 20 to 30 runs. So I think it's important to not mess up the starts that we have and play big and play long innings because I think all of them are capable of doing it. But it's just that either it's patience on the crease or doing too many things at a time. I think putting a price on their wicket is something which I will hope that the Indian batsmen do.
Okay, Gurkirat.
So, firstly, I don't think there's a that you can really do anything about changing the last five because who do you drop on the basis of one game? You really can't.
Right.
That is one. I know Jadeja didn't have a good game, but he averages 40 with the bat and below 25 with the ball. Those are numbers which are better than Ben Stokes. People say that Ben Stokes is the better all-rounder in Test matches, but if you compare the numbers, he isn't. He's probably better in limited overs. So that is one. The other is, and here I agree with Ahan that the likes of Pujara and Rahane need to pull their weight across now. Uh, Pujara's played some very good innings, but his average cuts a sorry figure. It is in the lower side. He probably missed out on scoring runs versus South Africa at home, then versus Bangladesh and versus England at home. But the truth is that he's not scored enough runs despite occupying the crease. Uh,
Okay.
and if you talk of Rahane, it's like I've been saying, it's been one innings in 8 or one innings in 10, and then there's been nothing much. Today also, I mean, it's one thing to get out in that manner once in a while, but it cannot be something or the other happening in every inning. So these two really need to pull their weight across. I wouldn't really say that you drop them because the issue is that number 3 and number 5 are very important positions in the batting order. You really can't blood in a youngster straight away without that youngster having not played enough matches at home or having a home test season. It's always difficult. So what I'll say is that it is probably the last series where one of them is probably shown the door. I know there are a lot of people who are loyal supporters of these two, and probably for a reason, because let's face it that you don't play 70 odd test or 80 odd test matches without having a good technique or without having performances to back it up. They have had those performances, but there's only so much that that you can that there's only so much you can be allowed to fail after having a few good innings, and at this moment it is happening a little too much for everyone's comfort. So that is one. I do feel that in the longer run, like Ahan said, that Gill's probably made for the middle order. I see him as a potential number 5, and I see I'd obviously see someone like a Hanma Vihari to be batting in the top 3. The reason why I say this is because he bats in the top 3 for Andhra Pradesh, and he's opened in Melbourne before when Mayank Agarwal was making his debut. He's also playing county at the moment. So regardless of how many runs he scores in that county season, he's better prepared, in terms of leaving the balls which you want to leave in England. His muscle memory is going to be much more, much more prepared than what Indian batsmen would have because they wouldn't have played that much cricket in England. So that is one thing, but I wouldn't really say that you do major changes. You've to back the ones that you've picked, and you just want the likes of Pujara and Rahane to bat like those people who've played 70 odd test matches and not 7 odd test matches, specifically Ajinkya Rahane.
Yeah. Okay. Ahan, you want to say something? Yeah.
I just wanted to say one quick thing, just to agree with what Gurkirat said. I think eventually, I think also we have to. According to me personally, I think Mayank Agarwal was given a really raw deal. He had maybe 1 or 2 bad test matches in Australia, and he got dropped. It was just the circumstances that Rohit was coming back, and then Gill had performed in that match, and he didn't. So one of them had to go, and therefore he went, which I don't think is entirely fair. So I think he needs to come back at some point because I saw some stat yesterday where he's the 3rd or 4th highest Indian run scorer in the WTC. So I think eventually, as we were saying, Gill is in the middle order. So I can see them. Vihari can come in at 3, Gill at 5, and then you open with Mayank. And I don't know what Rohit's long-term future is honestly in the Test team, but I think we need to look at. I give them this series for sure against England. But if again this average of 25, 26, 27 continues, I think you have to make changes eventually.
Just want to say this about Rohit. I think he's been the most improved Indian Test batsman in the last 6 months.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Fair enough.
The reason
And
why
Pant.
the reason why I didn't take Pant's name, because I've always felt that Pant has had more ability than what Rohit has showcased in playing Test matches, or else it would have been Rishabh Pant. But in the last 6 months or so, Rohit's been the most improved Indian Test batsman.
See, as an MI fan, I thank you for this. But then see, anyway, I feel it was really great talking to you guys. Before we end this, I just want to take a moment and appreciate New Zealand and Kane Williamson's captaincy. They were the better team, like Ahan mentioned, Ronak mentioned as well. And somewhere they did deserve to win this title and trophy. It was long overdue. And, recently, unke 2015 Cup ho, or 2019 ho, they just came so close and lost. Somewhere we felt bad. I didn't want them to win against India, but then I didn't want to watch Kane Williamson winning some or the other day. So maybe this is the moment. And thank you so much, Amanda, Ahan, Ronak, Gurkirat, and everyone else who joined over the course of last 5 or 6 days. And thank you so much for everyone.
And before we end, let's smile because Ashwin has become the highest wicket taker in this Test of Champions with 71 runs.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I think what Varnata said also, thank you to both of you also for the last 5-6 days for the shows. Thank you guys.
Thanks a lot. We'll hopefully meet again for the England tour. If not that, probably the IPL as well. Like Ahan, we have that MI and DC match ke time we'll battle again. Cool. Thanks a lot. I'm Kunal, this is Sarika, and we'll see you again. Not tomorrow. We'll hopefully see you again in some next series as well. This is BATV Fan Doosra show powered by Dafa News for the Test of Champions, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.